Hello everyone! I got this other assembly square set for parts, and now it's time to start expanding my town hall. Now, my town hall currently is an alt build of the assembly square designed by Yanix. This building has originally been designed as a library, but I use it for my town hall instead. Now, when doing an expansion like this, it would be logical to start from the bottom. So first decide how big your building is going to be, and then expand the basement, then the first floor, and so on. But in this case, it is not the basement that is going to define the dimensions of the building. It's going to be architectural features on higher floors instead. And I really need to design entirely new side walls for the building, because the current ones are flat and designed to go against another building. They're also very multicolored, as is the back wall, so I need to redo that also. I might keep the basement and the first floor design, but definitely not the second floor design. At least the front of the building is going to be pretty straightforward, as I already mentioned in the previous video. We are going from this to something like this. Now, my original idea for the side walls was to use pretty much the center of the building. By that I mean that I would place those white windows between those pillars in the first floor, and then perhaps keep the second floor as it is, meaning that I would place that giant glass panel behind those pillars. I would get one of those panels out from the just bought new assembly square set, and I would get another from the European Jazz Cafe extra parts, because that build didn't use those parts at all. But then I realized that I couldn't do smaller rooms within that floor, because you couldn't put an inside wall against that giant glass panel. And I really needed to come up with something different than those normal hero windows that the building has, because I won't have enough parts for all of those if I include those in the side walls also. But only way to get forwards here is to actually grab some parts and start building. You know, make some tests, see what works and what doesn't. So it was time to do just that. Time to do some test building. So here you can see some of the first tests. I have extended the basement and then added more of those windows. And I also did some sort of a test build for the basement side walls. Next, I decided to do sort of a test build for the side walls. First floor looks good, but the second, not so. I really don't like the black window frames there. So at this point I realized that I really need to come up with a new side window design. Something that fits well with the front windows, but is far less part intensive. One idea was there in the original alt build all along. That build had those windows there in the tower. Mine didn't have those anymore because I had replaced those windows with a clock. So, next step was to test build those windows on side walls. To conserve parts, I only decided to use one of those windows, not a double window, for each panel. The panels would be sand blue and they would be surrounded by grey pillars. And that seemed to work really well. Then I realized that I needed to add some of that medium nougat color, and here are some alternative test builds how to add that color in. I also started to wonder if I should rebuild my basement side wall. Perhaps just a brick-built dark grey wall. I wasn't sure if I had enough dark grey to do it, but then I realized that I could take these dark grey bricks out from the back wall and replace them with a better color. I also decided to use those larger black window frames. They seem to be a perfect fit there. And perhaps the second floor could be of similar design. Well, I had enough dark grey for one side wall, and it seems that I just might have enough for the second one also. So at this point I was pretty confident that I had locked the building dimensions. So I knew exactly how wide the building is going to be and how deep it's going to be with the sidewalls. The finished building would be 2 steps deeper than the original, but that would not be a problem as this building will not be placed next to another building. So I decided that this was enough of testing and I could start the actual build. Quite a big mess on the build table, but then again I managed to build the basement. Originally there was some mismatched colors in the interior walls, but I managed to build them all out of light gray. And the side walls are made from dark gray to match the front better. Lastly, I just spread the existing details into the new rooms. And I decided to test fit it on my layout just to see that it's still working. The side streets are quite narrow, but I still think that you can easily see both buildings. The town hall from this angle, and the apartment building from this angle. And the birch tree will still fit in, though it is a tight fit. And here you can see the finalized design of my side wall. I decided to add that medium nougat with those cheese slopes, both on the bottom and at the top. I will probably need more of those cheese slopes, but then again I think they are worth it. Then it was time to build bigger floor plates for the first floor, and move all the details little by little to those new bigger plates. Once again, the build table is a mess, but then again, I made some progress. There is a new tan interior wall on the right, and next I'm planning to build a brown wall on the other side using that arch piece. Next I put the floor tiling back in there, and I also fixed that side wall on the office room. Now it's complete. But then I spotted another problem. Those bigger window frames were actually poking on this side of the stairs. And I guess that is the real reason why those bigger window frames were not used in the original alt build. But I still wanted to use those. So I decided to remove the centermost windows. This is all the tan that I have left now, but I managed to remove those windows. Now it actually makes more sense in a way that there is 3 windows on the back and 3 windows on the front also. And this is how it looks from the front side. I really don't think that there is any need for windows behind those stairs. Next I decided to work on the cafe area on this side of the building. I wanted to use a sign there, but I couldn't use this original one. That was just way too big. So I had to do a smaller one. I actually stole the idea for placement of those clips from the European Jazz Cafe sign. That problem had already been solved once, so there was no need for me to solve it again. Next I realized that there wasn't much brown pieces to build that wall with arch, but I decided to steal some from the stairs. I rebuilt the stairs by using 2x brick, and I could get all this 1x brick out from the stairs. And with those extra bricks I managed to build that wall just nicely. The idea to use that brown color came from the toilet, as it already had that same color in its walls and door. I also decided to add a small sofa on this side. It matches the larger sofa on the other side. And the side wall on this side of the building is just a placeholder. I just built it there to support the next floor. And I made this other side the hero side because that is closer to the door when you enter the room. Now at this point I was running out of both tan bricks and sand blue bricks. so there really wasn't much to do with my current bricks anymore. But I still had some plates, and I thought that perhaps I could replace the second floor plates. This grand staircase opening is quite important part of the second floor, so I have to take that into account when I design the floor plates. I also want to place a big boardroom just directly behind that giant glass panel. So here's a test build just to see how wide that room should be, if it includes a 3-stud wide board table and chairs on either side. Now there isn't any room for minifigures to move around, but I just assume that the chairs can be pulled onto the table, and that provides enough space for people to move around. And this is how it would look when placed inside the actual building. I also want to place a glass panel wall between that stair opening and the boardroom to provide some privacy. And this room will be extended by 2 studs, so the stair opening will actually not be that small as it appears here. Now I knew the size of the boardroom, and that also defined the size of the stair opening, and I could start building the actual floor plates. I decided to use tan plates for the rooms on either side, because I was running low on gray plate. That's all I have left there. But I plan to tile this entire floor anyways, so it really doesn't matter what color the plates are. I just needed to ensure that there is gray on the sides. And now the floor plates are complete. That took pretty much all my gray plate. I only have a couple of pieces left here, and some 2x left in this pile. But other than that, I'm all out. So, with no bricks to build walls or no plates to build roofs, I had to stop the project at this point. But I still wanted to put the building into my layout, so I designed a temporary version of the second floor, so the building would look complete and it would support the roof. And here is how that looked. I just transferred the front facade on its correct place, and then I added the other walls there just as a temporary solution. There was no need to fix that gap of 2 studs, because I'm not going to eventually use these walls at all. But they are there just to support the roof, and I also added those facade panels to the front to create a more finished look. This was all that I could do without getting any new parts. So the new parts will be the topic of the next video. I'll be getting this Lego office set as a parts pack to continue building my town hall. But I think that I want to build that office set as such before I use the parts for my town hall. Because most of the tables, sofas, cabinets, and so on will go into the town hall as such. But more of that in the next video. You can expect that next video ASAP, but remember, when a Sloth says that, it means as slowly as possible. Bye bye.